In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so excited to be introducing our first guest, Rebecca Rosen, and she's here today to talk to us about her new book, What the Dead Have Taught Me About Living Well. So welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, what a joy it is to have you here. I mean, you're like the go-to person in regards to, accessing the other side. Everyone knows who you are. You've been on, Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, Entertainment Tonight, just about every major TV network out there. I have to ask you, when you sat down to get this book together, what inspired you to write this book?
I'm glad you asked that because I often joke that the spirits like to use me as a guinea pig to pass on important lessons to all the people I work with. And that is exactly what happened in the creation of this book. So when we first set out to write a book, we were going in a different direction. And then all of a sudden, I can't spoil what happens in the book, but some major miracle unfolded, and again, I just laughed. It was the universe's way of saying, this is the book that people need. And so, I always tell people, I may have this direct access to the other side, but I'm not immune to life's challenges, and we are all in this together. We are here to go through, the ups and downs and to learn and grow on a spiritual level. And oftentimes it's through those messy moments that we grow the most and we learn the most. And so Spirit clearly took me down that road. And in this book, I show readers how to tap into this higher guidance to help them get through life's messy moments with as much grace and ease as possible.
And, couldn't we use a little bit more of that today? I mean, really.
Oh, tell me about it.
Well, and especially with, I know you're extremely busy. You're, very sought after. So you've got a family. I mean, you got a regular life after, aside from dealing with the spirit world. And so for them it's like, how are you able to, separate that? Are there some tips that you can give our listeners that will, that kind of follow your theme of living well?
Yes. Yes, my life is very, very full, like a lot of people's, and I'm constantly striving to, balance all my roles, and it's not always easy. And so throughout the book, I have tons of spiritual tools and practices to help the everyday person to stay grounded and yet to stay connected to something bigger, to remember that there is a rhyme and reason and a purpose to everything we go through and that we're not alone. And one of the best tools that if I were to offer one thing, it's something I do every single day. I've been doing it for the past 20 years in my awareness of this, and that is I start my day with 5 quick minutes of prayer and meditation. And a lot of people will say to me, well, I don't have 5 minutes. Who doesn't have 5 minutes? We all have 5. It's just making it a priority. And sometimes, what I like to do is before I even get out of bed, before anyone even knows my eyes are open, I just lay there and I call in my higher guides and angels and I call in source energy or God, and I surrender my day to being used in the highest way and to get out of my own way, to get out of my head. And I ask to be protected and guided and so forth. And then I'll imagine a bubble of white light protection around me. And the intention is basically you're lining up your day and you're asking that you be held in this pure positive energy so that your day, what I call, it becomes flow-tastic. everything flows. Synchronicities happen, miracles unfold, and it really does seem to make a difference when I start my day that way versus not.
Yeah. And that way you can kind of start your day ready for it. You're preparing for what the day will bring. Now, let's say you have somebody and they pick up your book because they're curious and they're like, well, I don't feel like I can see or feel or hear anything. What tips do you have for that person?
You know, something I've come to learn is that every single one of us has the gift of intuition, okay? It's a sixth sense. We are all born with it. And some of us have it stronger and clearer than others. There's no question. But we all have the ability to tap into this psychic energy, telepathic energy, and that includes connecting to what I call your team spirit, your angels, your guides, and your departed loved ones. And so really it just comes down to a matter of A, opening yourself up to that possibility, and B, working with it. It's a practice. And so the more you pay attention to it and the more you start to understand this language of the other side, the stronger it gets and the easier it gets. And so I always tell people, you know, start where you're at. It's perfect where you're at. And then, you know, pick a time every day to really give it some energy. And so again, that takes me back to prayer and meditation. Prayer is us talking to spirit and source, and meditation is us simply listening. It's making time to get out of the party in your head. You know, we all have that crazy mind, the monkey mind that's constantly talking. But if you can learn how to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of your day and get present and just start breathing, then there's room to pick up on these, what I call radio waves. It's psychic energy that's constantly floating around us. And you just have to, you know, raise up your antenna and tune into it.
I think our world is so busy that people, you know, forget that taking that time allows them to develop that skill set.
Exactly. You know? Yes. It's like anything else. If it's a priority, I do believe you make the time to work with it.
Well, and I know in your book you talk about how, you know, communicating with spirits on the other side has helped you to see the bigger picture. Can you give an example of that?
Yes. So, you know, in the end, I think the biggest message that's given me so much relief from the other side is don't sweat the small stuff. And in the end, it's all small stuff. So the spirits constantly, you know, I think, again, we are human beings and we have minds, and the mind tends to go down the road of fear. And I think a lot of times we have an agenda and we think things should go a certain way, the outcome. We get attached to an outcome when really there is some divine orchestration. And if you can learn to simply just be present and trust that everything will unfold the way it needs to be, then that takes all the pressure off of us trying to force things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I mean, it takes me back to the beginning of my journey. I thought I was in college getting an advertising degree when my dead grandma came knocking on my head. And she said, you think you're here to make the world a better place with advertising? Well, guess what? You're wrong. And that's where I had to surrender. And in my surrender, when I let go, all of a sudden, everything started happening. The universe would bring me, you know, the right people at the right time to open up that opportunity for me to move in the direction of using this gift of mediumship. And here we are 20 years later.
Oh, yeah, and it's so great. I mean, we're lucky to have you here in Colorado. I know that in a couple days you're going to be going on your Living Well book tour. Your book was just came out on the 14th. So you're going to be all over the nation being able to communicate and connect with people from different walks of life and in different cities. When you started out in this path, and you talk about how your grandma came knocking on your head, a lot of times when we kind of start off on our spiritual path, you know, some people think it's like, gosh, do I need a padded cell? I'm starting to see things. You know, where do you make that transition into that trust that you're getting, the information that you're getting is correct? And
right.
And the tips that you can give our listeners on maybe what to do just to find peace and also how to use that information.
Sure. I think the biggest issue I hear about from people I work with, and I get this because this happened to me in the beginning, but it's how do you know you're not making it up? How do you know you're not going crazy? And I struggled with that for the first couple years when I was 20. All of a sudden, one day, I can connect to my dead grandmother. I'm hearing her. And I thought for sure I had a case of mental illness. And for 2 years, I kept praying, show me signs, prove it. I need to know I'm not making this up. Well, fast forward 20 years later, for me, it's not even a question. It's not even a belief. It's a knowing. It is so real. And I get excited helping others navigate the way and figure that out for themselves. So the biggest thing that I have learned to help people know when it's really a divine thought or a divine connection versus a mind thought, a mind-made thought, would be when it comes to you out of the blue, okay, just out of nowhere, you get hit with this thought, I need to call my mother, okay, and sure enough, you call her and something really, awful just happened, and she picks up the phone saying, I can't believe you knew to call me. I'm struggling. Thank you. Well, that's spirit coming to you, right? It was out of the blue. Versus you're sitting there and you're thinking about all the things you need to do, and then your mom pops in your head because you remember from yesterday she texted and you never responded. That's your mind. It's a trailed thought. And so it's one thought leads to the other, leads to the next, and there's the thought of your mom. So when something comes to you out of the blue, whether it's a thought, whether it's a strong feeling, okay, spirit communicates with us through our feelings. That then, I always encourage people, listen to it, follow it, because the more you do, the more you get validated. And then when you get validated, you're like, wow, that was amazing and powerful. Then the more likely you are to follow that again the next time.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to give some insight on that, because I think a lot of people, when they start their spiritual journey, these, different things happen, and it's like, wow, what do I do with this? And, I know when I started mine and started seeing, I thought, and it was kind of an overnight thing. I'm like, I think I'm losing my mind too. So it's nice, and I know that you have a community as well that people can connect with, and kind of be involved in with your inner circle.
Yes. Yeah, I was inspired through a dream to create the inner circle a few years ago, and I'm so grateful I did. There's so many people, it sounds like you as well, that are waking up to their power and their connection. I'm such a firm believer that we are all able to tap into this for ourselves. And I really feel part of my mission in life is to empower people, inspire people to do that. And so I created this inner circle as a resource for a community of like-minded people to come together and to explore it in a safe way. And this year, in my inner circle, I'm dedicating it all to psychic and development. So wherever you're at on your journey, whether you're just playing around with, the psychic phenomena, or you really know you are here to develop your own gifts to help other people, you can, tap into that. And again, it's just like my book, all my books actually, different, down-to-earth, relatable, spiritual practices and tools that you can use to whatever degree is right for you to help you live a more conscious and aware and spiritually fulfilling life.
Well, and I think that's what makes you so relatable and why so many people are attracted to your message. It's because you have like a normal life. And then you've got this, and then you also have, you've got that normal busy life that, everyone can relate to. And then at the same time you connect with spirits, and that's very much a part of what your life is all about. And so it pulls out that whole like woo-woo kind of thing. We can actually have a discussion in regards to this that allows people to really resonate with your message.
Exactly. And I do think that's part of why the universe gave me this gift. And I can relate to anybody because just like anybody, I have the same everyday challenges with home life and and work life. And I really do believe that there is a way to hold opposites, meaning you can be a real person and yet be really spiritually aware and connected. And I just continue to show up and keep it real, and I'm glad that comes through.
No, it definitely does. And I think it helps people who are just like, well, I'm just kind of a normal person, but I can have this this whole spiritual side and not be, like needing, to be heavily medicated or something.
Exactly. And I feel like in this day and age, it's a lot more acceptable to talk about this stuff. When I came out with my gift all those years ago, 20 years ago, it was like coming out of the closet. And my family, friends, everyone thought I was like, diving off the deep end here. And now it's almost exciting, and people are curious, and I love how open the world has become to this. And so again, I think if we can make it relatable and down to earth, more and more people will start to open up to it and explore it.
Well, and this kind of brings me to my next question, and I don't want to give everything away. That we do want to encourage people to go out and purchase your book, What the Dead Have Taught Me About Living Well. What is one of your number one messages that you have learned from the other side? We talked a little bit about just not sweat the small stuff. What other thing really resonates with you?
Something that really personally resonates, but also a lot of my clients have validated, is that we have a sneak peek into what we're signing up for when we choose to be born. And it comes with a soul contract. And so when I was going through my divorce, I was so worried about breaking up my family and hurting my children. And the spirits reminded me something I learned a long time ago, and that is my kids signed up to go through this. And if this really is God's plan, they came equipped to deal with it. They will be more than okay. And their kids are resilient. And so whatever it is, whether it's your kids, dealing with very challenging times, or anyone for that matter, we choose the people we incarnate with in our soul groups, and we choose certain big life challenges and lessons that we are going to go through. And so that brings me so much peace and comfort to know that, everything in the end will be okay, as long as you go with the flow and allow what's meant to be to unfold without getting in the way of it.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice, because it allows people to have their journey, and then us to be, like how you're saying, okay with it, going, we don't have to make every road perfect for the people that are with us. It's allowing them to have their journey as well.
Right. We each have a path, and we have to trust that, it's not up to us to label it as good or bad, right or wrong. It just is. And especially when it comes to our children.
Now, in your book, and this is, I think we have enough time for one more question. Of course, it'd be so easy to ask you so many. I mean, you're such a fountain of information and just the expert, as far as I'm concerned, on spirituality and the other side. Now, I know in your book you talk about forgiveness. Can you touch on that a little bit for us?
Sure. Forgiveness is such an important lesson that I've learned from Spirit, because the only person you're hurting if you hold on to resentment and anger is yourself. It's this dark energy that contaminates, first and foremost, your heart, which in turn causes you to shut down and put a wall up around giving and receiving love. And in the end, as A Course in Miracles talks about, only love is real. And love, I've come to learn, is God. God is love. And so when you're in a place of unforgiveness, you're anything but loving. And so spirits have reminded me that, in the end, I do believe everyone has that core of good in them, that God spark. We may not always choose to exercise that, but we all have that spark of good and God. And so if you can find a way, not necessarily forgive an act that somebody did that was hurtful to you, or situation, but to find that thread of good and to try and connect to that and send that love and light out. There's an opportunity to be had to make peace. And so I hope that answered the question. But
it did. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was perfect. Well, and I know our listeners can go to your website, RebeccaRosen.com, where they can go ahead and, sign up for the Inner Circle and be part of that community if they're looking for guidance. And of course, we want them to go out and pick up your amazing book. I'm so happy I have my hands on a copy of it. I thank you so much, Rebecca, for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Oh, this is fantastic. And I just want to thank you for, providing this amazing show to everyone to help raise the consciousness here.
Oh, well, you've made my day. Coming from you, that's a high compliment.
No, you're doing your work for sure.
Well, and then for our listeners, you want to definitely go out to Rebecca Rosen's website and check out all the great events she's got coming up with the Living Well book tour. She's coming to a city near you, and make sure to pick up her book and attend one of the events. So we're going to pause here for a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. Our next guest is here today to talk to us about her book, Work, Pause, Thrive. Is it possible to take a career break without losing everything you've worked for? We're going to find out in just a minute here with Lisen Stromberg. So welcome to the show, Lisen.
Thank you, Marianne. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, it's fabulous to have you here. I mean, this book is so informative. I think a lot of people just don't realize, what happens when you are actively pursuing a career and then you've got to take time off for a family.
Well, what happened for me is I was inspired to write the book after Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, came out, because so many young women were approaching me and saying, I'm dying to lean in. I love my career. I'm really committed to it, but I also want a family. How do I integrate the two? It doesn't seem possible. And my answer back was, it certainly is possible. We just have to rethink how that career looks and how that engagement with your family looks. I had myself been interviewing many, many highly successful women, and hidden in their resumes were these incredible stories of kind of these nonlinear careers where they had downshifted or paused temporarily, but you didn't really know it because you didn't talk about it. It kind of wasn't accepted or whatever. And I thought, we need to let these people know. The world needs to know this is how we women make it work. We figure it out.
Well, and it seems that there's a lot of bias for women. I know that you talk in your book about motherhood bias.
Yeah, a really phenomenal professor out of Stanford, Shelley Corral, has been studying this for years. And what she's really been able to identify is that basically, no matter what you do, women and the mothers in the workplace are challenged, I think is the polite word, the radio word. The truth of the matter is, women of a certain age, there's a fear that they're going to be a flight risk. So sometimes employers don't want to hire women because they're afraid they're going to have children. Then, of course, once they do have children, there's a perception that, and then, so it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the sad truth is that's just not the case. There was a fascinating study done just this last year. It was a longitudinal study over women's careers. And guess who the most effective, most productive employee is? It's a mother. So if the arc of her career, more than men, more than single women, the most productive over the arc of her career is a mother. So if we actually have a longitudinal look at women's careers, you'll find, in fact, women mothers rock.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and I know just women in general, in the workplace are facing bias for a lot of things. I mean, they get a lower rate of pay than men, and you go over some other things that they have challenges with as well.
It's true, and I think one of the things that just breaks my heart is when it comes down to pay. So look, we all know that we've heard all these statistics of women getting paid, 78 cents a dollar of man or whatever it is. If you actually deconstruct that, the sad thing is that, in fact, single women without children are paid almost on par with men, about 94% of a man's full salary. It's mothers that are actually the ones who really get hit. They're the ones who are making 70 cents on the dollar of a man. That's where the real problem comes in. And so, if you're not getting paid as you should be paid, and if you're being told that you're not as productive and as effective, which of course is what the research shows, that's why a lot of women sadly abandon their careers when they have children. And, my book was written to sort of say, I'm not going to judge your choice. If that's what's right for you and your family, and if there's no other option, fine. But be smart and strategic about it and realize that your career is long and you need to make sure you're always engaged with it.
Well, and I think many women, they look at, having a family and stepping into motherhood, as in addition to what it is that they're doing. And most women don't want to leave their careers. They want to have that.
No, I mean, right. I mean, so that I interviewed 186 women, and then I surveyed an additional almost 1,500. And in fact, when I sent out the survey, when we sort of initiated it, I contracted with a professional survey organization. I said, let's do this. And they said, if we get 250 people answering or women answering, this will be great. 1,500 answered, and I had to close the survey down because it was a deadline time. I could have gotten double that number. So many women wanted to tell us their stories. And their stories were that, in fact, the vast majority of women actually do downshift or pause temporarily in their careers. Many times they don't talk about it. Often they hide it in their resumes. So that's how they're really actually figuring out how to integrate children with their careers, because they really do want a career. 63% of women who actually pause their careers reported that they view themselves as very ambitious. So it's not that they're lacking ambition. It's that they're lacking an environment in which they can thrive. And so they actually become trailblazers and innovate their own careers. It's very inspiring, actually.
You just have to love that. I've talked with a few different very high-level women that I know that are senior VPs at Fortune 500 companies. And one of the things that they've brought up several times is if they are looking to get a pay increase, a lot of times they have to switch companies in order to do that. So
absolutely.
So it's nice that we're shedding light on this, because I mean most women don't want to have to keep making those kind of career transitions.
Well, of course, if you're an employer, you don't want to lose that great talent. It's hard to find great talent. And so it would be really great if, in fact, we actually had some more transparency around pay. Many employers don't want to do that. Here in Silicon Valley, where I live, we're seeing some employers actually be willing to be very transparent about their pay and how the pay structured and how it looks across the company. But most don't want to do that for a variety of reasons. So women don't know. It's hard to figure out, am I being paid competitively? What do I do? And there's a great group called Fairy God Boss. I don't know if you've heard about that. It's basically Glassdoor company reviews by women for women, and they're doing a great job of conveying information about fair pay, what people are being paid, et cetera. So that's a great resource for women. Another one is Comparably, does a similar thing. So it'd be great to just sort of share that information to your readers or listeners.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, I know in your book you talk about we should be getting over the work-life balance. Why should we be doing that?
Well, I mean, for a whole host of reasons, but let me start with the most obvious. Think of a scale. If you've got one thing on one side and one thing on the other side, they're competing, right, for your energy, your efforts, et cetera. I don't believe work and life should compete, because they can't. Something's always going to lose if you're in competition. If you look at work-life integration and figure out, how can I integrate my work in my life? How can I recognize that I want to go to my daughter's soccer game at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I know as a result that means I'm willing and able and committed to answering emails from 9 to 11 at night. We do that all the time. People have been doing this for years. This is how it gets done. That's called work-life integration. If you try and make it balanced, then you're fighting with yourself and you're never going to win. Just figure out integration, figure out what you're willing to give up, and you're always going to have to give up something. But I think in the long run, if you view your career as a long career, in the long run, if you think about integration, you actually end up winning.
Well, I agree with you on that. I mean, because it's, I think a lot of times people do struggle with having to have that balance and then go, gosh, it's not happening, or I've got too much work going on, or, it just seems to be a constant struggle. So I completely agree with you on that.
I had the pleasure of interviewing this amazing rock star, Angela Schulman, here in Silicon Valley. She is sort of living the dream. She is the COO of a fantastic, well-funded startup that she and her husband actually ended up growing. She's got 2 young kids, and she's just working like crazy. And she and I went to Starbucks and had coffee, and she wants to be engaged with her kids. She always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, ironically. And she said to me, I'm struggling. And my answer back to her was, look, over your lifetime, your children's lifetime, right now you have this incredible opportunity. And it may be that your job right now is to be all in with this great opportunity for you. And in 5 years or 3 years, it may be that you can take your foot off the pedal and maybe downshift a little bit. If we, again, look at the longitudinal aspects of our life, then this immediate pressure that we're feeling, either because we're staying at home and really feel like we want to work, or vice versa, we're working and we really want to sort of downshift. If we have that long-term perspective, it sort of takes the pressure off. And that, to me, is the real key, figuring out how we can take the pressure off, which isn't easy, don't get me wrong. It's hard every day when you got to get the kids to the dentist and mom has a deadline and so forth. So I'm not trying to belittle that.
Well, and it always happens where a kid gets sick and has to come home from school when there's, deadlines and clients, and, it's just worst possible time, but it's just how it goes.
Right. But the thing that I really want to encourage women to do is take the pressure off themselves of that whole definition of I'm a good mother or a bad mother. Right. That's where don't do that to yourself. Let's not do that to ourselves, women. Let's support ourselves and know that, your kid's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. It's going to be okay. Again, if we take the long view.
Well, and I know that there's also, because you discuss it in your book, there's some more fathers that are looking at being a stay-at-home father, which is kind of a little bit more of an unusual path.
Sure, but actually, you're absolutely right. We're seeing a huge increase in stay-at-home dads, which many people herald as a great opportunity. Isn't this fantastic? And in some ways it is. Listen, the idea that men can actually own caregiving and be that lead parent and really be validated for that, to me, is very inspiring. That means great things for men. It means great things for women. However, what it really means is that the workplace doesn't support families and individuals to be working and engaged. In other words, if you're forced to have one partner at home, it means the workplace doesn't support all of us. And the truth of the matter is we all need to be working. That's what our economy needs. That's what our family needs. So we need environments, workplace environments, and public policies that actually support that.
Lisen, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today and share your wisdom and insights. Where can our listeners connect with you?
Well, I'd love them to connect with me on my website. They can go to www.lisenstromberg.com.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today, Lisen.
An absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, Marianne. Keep up the great, amazing work you're doing.
We're going to pause here for a quick break. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com. Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074. 630-881-1074.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so excited to be introducing our next guest. She's an award-winning bilingual media personality and TV show host of The Healthy Voyager. Carolyn Scott Hamilton is here today to talk to us about how to be a healthy Voyager. So welcome to the show, Carolyn.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, it's so great to have you here. I mean, you're like the go-to person about travel and keeping it green. So I'm so glad you could take this time out of your schedule, because I know you're super busy, to talk to us about, just some like tips and other great things. And I've got all these questions for you. So goodness gracious, here we go,
Excellent.
So I know you're the star of this hit series, The Healthy Voyager. What does it mean for our audience to be a healthy Voyager?
Well, I think it means different things to different people. But for me, it's kind of an all-encompassing situation. So it's, staying healthy on the go. So most of the time you'll go on vacation or a business trip and you gorge on, room service, or you're grabbing a bag of chips when you're running around because you didn't have time to eat a healthy meal. And your sleep schedule is off. So there's so many things that happen when you're away from home. You don't have your creature comforts. You don't have your regular routine. So when you come back, you're completely thrown off. So for me, it's making sure that I eat well and find the things that nourish my body, making sure I get enough sleep, and also being green. So like I said, for some people, it's just making sure they fit in some fitness on the road. For others, it's because they follow a special diet like me, or they have to find very specific foods when they're away from home. And other people really are just worried about their eco footprint. So it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. And ultimately, being healthy also includes being happy and finding balance. So you definitely want to enjoy your trip as much as possible, because that is all part of holistic health.
Well, and I think that this could come at a better time, because the discussion around travel and food, usually people get the vision of like greasy airport food and, or going through starvation periods, because there are no really good health options. So what are some tips that our listeners can put into place if they're planning for a trip? Let's say they're going to take a flight to go to Miami or Hawaii or someplace fun, or even a business trip. What are some little tips they could put in place so they can at least, eat healthy while they're on the move?
Yeah, absolutely. Just, the day of the flight is really important. Making sure you get enough rest the night before, because you tend to snack on pretty awful things when you're sleep deprived. You're just grabbing I'll just eat that donut and I'll grab that coffee. Two really bad things to eat before you get on a flight. So what you want to do is get enough sleep, drink enough water. I always bring my own water bottle with me. I take it empty through security, and then I just fill it up when I get to the other side. So not only am I saving $5 on a giant bottle of water, I'm always hydrated. And then I always have snacks, because you never know. Most domestic flights don't feed you, unless, of course, you're in business or first class. So you have to come prepared. So things have gotten much better as far as airport food. I'm seeing a lot more healthy options pop up, a lot of more high-end cuisine kind of pop up. So you're not just left with, Burger King and Subway and Starbucks. But even then, even if there are good options at the airport, you should always have something with you. So whether it's some trail mix or some dried fruit or something that's a healthy option, because you tend to get bored on long flights as well. And most of us eat out of boredom, especially if there's not good entertainment or you can't sleep on the flight. So really trying to keep those idle hands busy with some healthy options. And, just in case, I always bring a healthy meal. So whether it's a healthy sandwich or a salad or some kind of quinoa, something filling and something good, in the off chance that I do have a layover where I don't have enough time to get a meal, or there isn't a good option at the airport. So being prepared just takes a little bit of planning, but it will be so beneficial to you in the long run. And staying away from really salty or really sugary or really caffeinated things is going to help, because in the sky, you're being dehydrated because of all that recycled air. So when you're filling your body with more sodium, filling your body with more sugar, you're dehydrating even more quickly. And alcohol is another thing to try to stay away from, because in the air, alcohol has 2.5 times the effect in the air than it does on land. So you definitely get to your destination more hungover than you'd like to be. So again, all these little things that if you can try and stay away from and just be snack and beverage smart when you're on the go will be really, really helpful when you get to your destination.
I couldn't agree with you more. The last time I took a flight, there was a guy next to me that was drinking, and he got a little green around the gills. So I know
It happens.
Yeah, that altitude, can get people. Now, I know, little birdie told me that recently you were teaching a class over at the U.S. Air Force. You kind of did a joint partnership with them on plant-based health and cooking on global basis. What was that like?
It was such an incredible opportunity. I was sent over to Turkey, of all places. So that was an adventure on its own with everything going on. But to see the servicemen and women and what they're doing over there and how they're living. And this particular base that I was on is on lockdown. So they're not even able to leave the base. And a lot of these bases are, little towns. You've got your grocery store, you've got your commissary, you've got your I think it's called the exchange. Yeah. Yes, the exchange, where it's kind of like a mini Walmart. So you have everything you need. There's some restaurants on bases and things like that. But, a lot of the servicemen and women, and especially on that base, are single and they don't have their families with them. So they're eating a lot of on the go stuff. They're eating stuff in the cafeterias. And it definitely is important for them to stay healthy and well with what they're doing over there. So to see how they live and what they're doing for us was really fantastic. And I was really surprised at how well they received the information as far as being healthy and being more plant-based. And they're really excited. We had kind of sold out, so to speak, food demos, a lot of coming up for seconds and thirds to try the demo foods, and really asking a lot of questions on how they can be more healthy and incorporate more plant-based meals on base, and then being able to take that information home to their families when they're reassigned or get to go home. So it was really, really interesting to see how excited they were about being healthier because they do have that routine there. So it was nice to see what they're doing and how they want to make some changes.
Yeah, I think when people get the information on different ways that they can, prepare their foods and things that they can, like simple tips on what they can do, they're like, wow, I can do this all the time then. It's not like it's a really big deal because they've got that in their toolbox. Oh, I could, make this this great thing. And which reminds me, on your website, The Healthy Voyager, you've got all these recipes. I've been I've been going through those and having a little fun checking out what's I'll have to make this one. This looks pretty cool. So there's a huge resource there for people to use as well. So I know you get hired all the time to come in and either do a keynote speech or for consulting. What is the number one thing that people usually want to have you come and speak on?
For the most part, it's about plant-based health and lifestyle when I'm doing speaking engagements. But it varies. Sometimes it includes cooking demos, things like that. But I cover all sorts of things from just the general healthy living, plant-based lifestyle, nutrition, to even, entrepreneurial kind of stuff. So it really just depends who the market is. So whether it's a college campus where they want to help the kids not gain that freshman 15, which I gained even more than that my freshman year. So it's definitely a topic close to my heart. So So whether it's the college or it's, going to the U.S. Air Force Base or speaking to a corporate conference, it really just depends. But it really all kind of funnels into the same category about plant-based health and finding balance.
I think we can't have enough discussion around that, especially because there's so many wonderful, it's not like back in the day when they first started coming out with rice cakes and people were kind of using that as siding, A lot of change since then.
Oh, it really has. It really has. The whole idea of healthy food tasting like cardboard is definitely a thing of the past.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I hear you have, a book that's out. So tell me about this. I've got to get my hands on one.
Yeah, it's called The Healthy Voyager's Global Kitchen, and it's a cookbook, but it marries my love of travel and international cuisine and recipes. So whether you're able to get to these wonderful destinations or not, you can bring that global cuisine back to your kitchen and share it with your friends and family in a very healthy way.
Ooh. Well, do you know what? I know mine's on its way. I can't wait to get it. And we're going to have fun. There's going to be lots of pictures of your cookbook. And hopefully with not something I would call a kitchen disaster from me burning water, So, thank you so much, Carolyn, for taking the time to be on the show with us today.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And if you'd like to connect with Carolyn Scott Hamilton, feel free to visit her website, healthyvoyager.com. Sign up for her community. She's on all social media and, of course, her newsletter. And just kind of get in there and check out her recipes and do what I'm going to do and have fun and explore. So I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to tune in today. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.